Hello and welcome back to another episode of MHSNews Gaming. I'm Myles Edgington, and today, of course, we're talking about more video games. Yeah, gaming. Which poses the question, why am I outside? There's trees here. And we're talking about video games, which is something that's usually indoors. It's because we're talking about Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, which is all really about exploring the great outdoors while trying to reclaim the divine beast to save Hyrule from Calamity Ganon. So, you know, it's usual save the princess plot. But let's get to talking about it. So let's go head back to the office with Harsh and Dog and get down to business. Okay, and we're back in the office. This is Harsh Baines, and then this is Dog, of course, my co-host for today. Once again, I'll reiterate, we're talking about Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild.
One of the most critically acclaimed games of all time, and one of my personal favorites.
Yeah, that was a strong start for, like, the Switch, along with Mario Odyssey. Like, started out strong. I can't say they were able to keep that going, unfortunately.
But hey, we got our games.
Yeah, so, I mean, let's get to it. Like, how did you enjoy exploring all of the areas?
The name of the game in Breath of the Wild is, of course, exploration. It's a very diegetic process. There's no map markers, no overstuffed loot icons. There's not much to guide you. The main guiding principle in Breath of the Wild is your own self. That voice in the back of your head that tells you to go to a certain mountain and to a certain region and just explore, walk around, find some goblins.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely had like that voice in my head. Whenever I saw like something that looked remotely interesting, like just a massive mountain, a tower, or let's say one of the divine beasts, I was like, all right, I'm going over there. Like, let's talk about what's actually out there in this big open world. Shrines and monsters.
Shrines. I have mixed opinions about shrines. On one hand, they're the perfect little mini dungeons for you to go find.
Yeah, I mean, I like that they were like all mini, but like some of them like were. At least for me, I'm sure the regular Zelda player could probably tell what they needed to do. Like, a good portion of the shrines, like, I had no idea what to do.
I don't know. I feel like shrines are just a perfect little... They reward you the perfect amount as an explorer to, you know... You gain a spirit, or good job for completing the shrine. They give you just enough of a nudge for you to go to keep exploring and find another more shrines. But at the same time, I feel like there was more. There could have been more that could have been done for shrines.
Yeah, I mean, like shrine quests especially, like those. I don't remember like having remotely any fun with any except the dragons, like the ones where you had to get like one of the dragon scales, drop it in a pond. Like those were actually pretty fun, trying to figure out, okay, where's the guy?
I feel like shrine quests are so inconsistent. You have shrine quests where you need to not step on a bunch of flowers, and then there's another shrine quest where you are stripped of all your gear and you survive on an island with nothing but your wits. Like that's
half of them I stumbled across like before like I had even gotten the quest. Like that, like they did. I will say shrine quest was a very much weak point of the game, because most of the time, like, you know, you didn't even need to activate the quest. You might just find the shrine randomly, like...
Literally. The combat system is... Well, there's a lot to dissect there, but let's start with the most controversial of its aspects, the weapon durability system. Let's go there.
Yeah, I mean, I have not really played any Legend of Zelda games before this, so, like, this wasn't too much of a big change for me, like... I mean, I liked the weapon durability system because, like, you kind of had, like, be able to just use a bunch of weapons without deciding, alright, this one is my favorite, the rest of you, go away.
Yeah, I like that the game forced you to use your arsenal of weapons. I feel like that's cool. Weapon durability is a cool diegetic way of making that happen, but at the same time I feel like there should have been a repair system. The Master Sword too, not upgraded, like without the DLC, you can get like a maximum of like 20 swings in before it breaks or runs out of energy.
I guess it really depends on what you're fighting. Like,
absolutely.
I mean,
Silver goblins?
No. Screw you guys, you silver bokoblin. There's the bokoblin camps scattered across the map. How did you usually handle those? Like,
so yeah, my strategies were a bit varied. Early on in the game, I got really good at the backwards dodge flurry rush, and that flurry rush saved me.
My strategy at first was just brute force. Then you run into the more creatures, and I figured out like, oh, okay, so that doesn't work. But I figured out how to use the bow, so I started doing like a long distance strategy, because most of these, you can find some sort of high ground where you can either just shoot at them or just roll bombs down at them. My favorite thing was like when they had the guard towers to sneak around, take out each one of them one by one, because it would usually be a red bokoblin on top of one of the towers. and then just watch as the other guys, they don't even know what's happened. And then a bomb just rolls between their feet and they're done.
Love that. Another big strategy for me was just throwing remote bombs.
So, champion abilities. That's a conversation. Now, I wouldn't say necessarily all of these are. Actually, no, they're all pretty good for combat. Like,
what was your personal favorite? Because it's between Urbosa's Fury and Rivali's Gale for me.
I mean, like, Rivali's Gale was my favorite in general, just because you could just soar up into the sky. It was fun for exploring and chasing things down. Like, Dark's protection, since parrying was another thing that I couldn't get into my brain, so that helped me immensely.
True. I use Mipha's Grace more, not as a revive, but more as a hardy Dorian. Whenever I was at low HP and I needed to fight something, I'd off myself with a bomb, and then I'd be back with 20 billion hearts. And that was
I mean, when I was low on HP, I just did the strat of eat food. Let's talk about Ganon.
Ganon.
That was a very underwhelming fight, if I'll be honest.
I loved, and I mean loved, Hyrule Castle. I think the
aesthetic was really cool.
It's such a well-paced climax to Breath of the Wild, because Hyrule Castle is a familiar location.
I love when we get to raid these somewhat impenetrable fortresses in video games, because it's always so fun. There's the dramatic music playing, you're taking everybody out. You just feel on top of the world. And then there's always something near the end that makes it even greater. I mean, even though Ganon's boss fight was a bit underwhelming, the concept and the aesthetic of everything was really cool. Let's talk about, the actual boss fight.
I loved the Ganon fight. Well, okay, I think it's not a good fight, but it felt like it was perfectly suited to my skill set. The first phase, all parrying, I'm fine with that, especially because the attacks are so readable. Second phase, I used a lot of flurry rushes. I used an insane amount of flurry rushes, and I got the job done. It was slow, but it was really fun because it challenged me.
So, I mean, honestly, the colossal peak Ganon. I love that concept. I know you were supposed to do it with a horse, but I ran around him. Like, I just ran around like a silly little guy, chopping at his kneecaps. Like, I mean, let's get down to final thoughts. Like, in the end, how did you feel about Breath of the Wild?
Well, I don't want to slap on an arbitrary number, because I feel like that's unfair, and it's a relative scale, but I think a 9 out of 10 is serviceable to Breath of the Wild. What it does really well. The exploration is top notch, literally unmatched by any other game.
Yeah, but then what it doesn't do well, like it flops to the ground, just dead. Like,
but I think the
it's very up and down.
The pros more than make up for most of the cons.
Yeah,
like the highs are really high.
In general, I'd give it probably around a 9 out of 10, but if we're not doing numbers here, I'd say 4.5 thumbs up out of 5. Just running around, it was fun. It was a good time. So if you want more good times, stay tuned for the next episode.